All right, it is time for the 50.3 patch notes. Honestly, Hearthstone's been absolutely ridiculous. I've been playing this game for too long. Look at my hairline, dude. Oof, we're getting old. But we're gonna have to see what Hearthstone's up to in this patch. Standard's been a little bit weird, and I know there's been a lot of people complaining about some nerfs. So I'm really hoping they do some changes to Death Knight and Monk. It's just getting absolutely ridiculous. The 50.3 patch releasing tomorrow includes several updates across Standard, Wild, Arena, and Candy Crush. But since Microsoft bought Hearthstone and Blizzard, they basically added Candy Crush to Hearthstone. I don't know what they're doing with it. I'm gonna be very intrigued. But let's see what Microsoft has in store for us today. I'm just subscribe. Axe of the Fallen, thank God. Death Knight has been overpowered for way too long because of this card, and they're changing it from +1 attack for each of minions that has died this game to +1 attack for each friendly minion that has died this game, which is a huge change. The biggest problem with this card, and I'm sure you all remember this, is just they played on turn 4. Even at that time, it's like at 6 attack, and this weapon will just keep on growing if you don't have a weapon removal. It just will keep going up and up as minions die, and they just keep hitting you in the face. It's kind of ridiculous that they didn't actually hit the durability of this weapon. 4 durability is quite steep for this, but it's better to get one change than no change at all, and I'm hoping that this is going to slow down this weapon a little bit. Now that it's a friendly minion, you actually have to play minions beforehand. You just can't remove early game minions and expect that to be okay. So great change from Microsoft here. The dev comment is Axe of the Fallen Prince felt like it was too powerful in the early game. I mean, obviously, I think with this change, the weapon will be a lot slower. We'll have to wait and see, Microsoft, but hopefully this will be completely fine. Mind Render Elucia. Oh, that's why the artwork was Mind Render Elucia. Ah, now it makes total sense. Mind Render Elucia returned to the standard format. Wow, we've never seen this ever. Microsoft is really taking a lot of risks with Hearthstone now, and I think that's pretty cool. All right, old Battle Cry, replace your, basically they're just reverting the change. So rather than making absolutely garbage, they're bringing it back to what it was beforehand when it was actually good and semi-toxic, but I think that's completely fine. The dev comment is Priest had a lot of trouble dealing with combo style decks. We're bringing back everyone's favorite card to help mitigate the problems. I mean, I guess Mind Render Elucia would be a little bit more interesting. Priest desperately needs help right now. It's the weakest class by far, so I'm hoping that they kind of, I don't know, change it up quite a bit, and hopefully Mind Render Elucia is just enough for Priest to actually come back and be an actual class in Hearthstone, because it feels like ever since they added Monk and Death Knight, there has only been like 11 classes because the 12th class Priest doesn't really do much. So hopefully Mind Render Elucia helps. I think they're going to need another huge change, so we'll have to wait and see. Next, we have Edwin Mana Swindler. It's going from 3 mana to 4 mana, and we all know Edwin, the combo restore all your mana crystals you this turn, is extremely powerful, and it honestly felt like this combo effect was coming down way too early. At 6 mana, you could just basically get 6 mana back and summon Edwin. With the cards that they've released that combo with Edwin, it's just been absolutely ridiculous. And Rogue has always had a trend of doing a lot of mana cheating, but I don't know why Shadow Step is still in the standard format. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm really glad that they're at least touching this, because it felt like once Rogue drew this card, their combo potential was just absolutely insane. And the later the game goes, Edwin just gets nuts. So at 4 mana, maybe a couple of the mana breakpoints changes, and I'm pretty glad that this. Rogue has been pretty frustrating recently, so pretty big change overall. The dev comment is Edwin, like usual, is very good. We're nerfing the mana cost. This will slow down Valera a turn more, where she can do an explosive turn. This change will provide more counterplay. I mean, 100%. If you nerf a card by 1 mana, it changes the combo usually by 1 turn. Maybe aggro decks can get under Valera and hopefully just stop her from just doing her annoying combo over and over again. Maybe it makes Rogue do a completely different deck. We'll have to wait and see what this change actually means, but seeing Edwin get nerfed to 4 mana brings me all the way back to 2021, where they nerfed Edwin Van Cleef for the very first time, which is really weird. Next, we have Panda Cheater, which, oh my god, this card, like I said at the start of this, Death Knight and Monk have been absolutely insane. The ability that your minions cost 0, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, obviously this is a very powerful ability, but thank god they're doing something. The nerf seems to be your minions cost 0, and this card was a nature card, to now your minions cost 1 and no longer nature. The removal of the nature tag is a really big deal. There was a deck that tutored out your nature cards, and obviously once you get this card into your hand, your minions cost 1 or 0, and you just kept boom, boom, boom. It was so much tempo. It was absolutely ridiculous. Now that your minions cost 1 is a lot bigger of a deal. It means you need more mana to really just flush out minions from your hand, and this will probably slow down the Panda Cheater in the Monk class a lot, and I'm very, very happy about this change. The dev comment is Monk has been super dominant since it's been released. Obviously, we're toning down Panda Cheater to bring the class more in line with the others. I don't know if this is the only change that Monk really needs, but it is a great place to start. This card is insane. Reminds me a lot of Prince Prince Keliseth way back in the day, and I know I sound like an old man. A lot of you youngsters don't even remember Prince Keliseth. Good change. Thank you, Microsoft. Love to see it. Here's something I thought we'd never see before. The priest hero power is getting changed. This is the very first time a hero power in Hearthstone is actually getting a fundamental change. That's absolutely crazy. First hero power change: old, restore 2 health. New, restore 3 health, can overheal your hero. Overheal is a new keyword to heal excessively or beyond the point of normal healing. That's really cool. Overheal is a mechanic that people have talked about for quite a bit. It seems like this is almost like armor, but just with your health. I wonder how high your healing can really go. If there's no limit like armor, I think this mechanic would be really interesting. They might have to bring overheal just to all the priest cards just so it has a better chance. Like using your hero power, obviously in the current metagame in 2027 is just ridiculous against Death Knights and Monk. Maybe this is better. I don't know. 3 health and overhealing your hero might be a little bit too weak. Let's read the dev comment though. Priest needed a fundamental change in order for it to be more competitive. The change to the hero power can allow Priest to play more defensive. Yeah, I guess it can, but I don't know if this is going to be enough. We'll definitely have to wait and see what the impact of this is, but I'm not too optimistic on this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Kind of interested to see what this actually means for Priest. I think it needs more changes. We'll have to wait and see. Oh my God, the big demon's getting changed. Thank God. I mean, I was playing Warlock. Warlock's been my favorite class at the beginning of Hearthstone. This card was just a little bit extreme. The ability to gain +1/+1 for every non-demon card in your opponent's deck is just insane. You can play this on turn 1 and you're getting like 24 in stats. Like what the hell were they thinking? Now it says gain +1/+1 for every non-demon minion in your opponent's deck, and also has 0 attack rather than 1. This is a big deal because it's no longer just cards, it's minions. So it really depends on how many minions your opponent wants to play in your deck. Obviously it's a little bit more of a counter if you're playing like a spell deck. Mage has been really catered on spells recently, so maybe Mage becomes a little bit more popular, but I don't know. This is it seems like a weird change. I think the better way of doing this card is that to have a battle cry to gain +1/+1 for every non-demon card your opponent has played, not the one in their deck. This card I guess is a little bit polarizing though, because if you draw it later it's just absolutely useless, but man, if you get this in the early game it is disgusting. The dev comment is the big demon got too big. This change will make it easier to handle in the early game. I mean, sure dude, whatever you say. I think this card is still really broken, but as a Warlock main I'm happy. Next we have Undying Attack, which is one of the Death Knight cards. I think that goes hand in hand with the axe that we saw earlier. It is going from give your hero the combined attack from all minions that died this game to give your hero the combined attack from all friendly minions that died this game. Really big change. Again, like we saw with the axe, this is a really big deal because now it's a lot slower. You have to have minions die. There's a little bit more counterplay. Maybe your opponent doesn't kill your minions. Really big change. I think the better change here though would have been for this turn only. I don't really understand the mechanic behind keeping the attack after the turn. It's just like why would you even do that? That just seems absolutely insane. At least Microsoft realized that the axe and Undying Attack have just been ridiculously annoying and it just feels really unfun to play against. Glad Death Knight is getting another nerf in this regard. The dev comment is Death Knight was getting way too much damage early on and it felt horrible to play against. Who doesn't agree with that set? That comment, I could have wrote that dev comment. Good change. I'm excited to see what Death Knight plays. We haven't really seen their resurrect style yet, so maybe they'll cater towards a more late game strategy, but God, this weapon strategy has been really frustrating. It reminds me a lot of Weapon Rogue from the Forge and the Barons expansion, I think. God, it's been so long. It seems like the last change here is for Wild Rise. No dev comment, which is really interesting, but Wild Rise has gain an empty mana crystal for each mana crystal your opponent has, which was really good. And then it's now gain an empty mana crystal for each mana your opponent used last turn. So this one is a lot more interesting. Your opponent has a little bit more counterplay to this. Used to be basically you play this on turn 2. If you're going second, it's ridiculous. Reminds me a lot of Overgrowth back in the day. But the biggest difference here is that this was 2 mana rather than 4, and it could even give you more than 2 mana. Now it's a lot worse. And maybe they did this preemptively because they thought Druid was going to come to the top after all these nerfs. Druid has been near the middle of the pack, so they definitely probably did this preemptively, which is a really big change. I applaud Microsoft for doing a lot of big balance changes here. This is a really big deal. Now we go to the Candy Crush changes. They added it to the main menu and moved Mercenaries to other mode section. I think it was about time. Candy Crush is obviously more popular than Mercenaries has been, and ever since Microsoft has owned Blizzard, they've really been pushing Candy Crush in Hearthstone, which is very interesting. Mercenaries they never fixed the X's coins. It's been how many years? 7 at this point, 6, and they still haven't actually fixed the problem at hand, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm assuming that a lot of people just don't play Mercenaries anymore, and Candy Crush is more popular. You could no longer gain XP from playing. That one I'm a little bit more like, why? I don't think that's necessarily like a negative. It's not like you could buy anything for Candy Crush to give you an advantage. Maybe that's the point. There was nothing to really earn there. It was just about, defeating the levels. So I guess it makes sense. And then for Arena's coming back. Wow. out. They took it away in I think 2024 because no one was playing Arena. It was super dead. Like, oh my god. Now it is free to draft a deck, so you no longer have to play 150 gold. I wonder if there's still rewards. Maybe there is. Maybe they're trying to bring some hype back and they'll slowly bring in a fee. But there he goes. That's the entire patch. Overall, I think the metagame is going to be a lot more interesting, and I hope that they do more buffs to Priest. Let me know what you think of the patch down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.